I think that from the quarterback standpoint, it was telling that they each, I think they had 5 drives yesterday, and each of them worked with the ones. Jaden Daniels got the start, right? So what that tells me is that if they played tonight, that Jaden Daniels would be your starting quarterback. But he also, in the middle of a drive, while Daniels had the ones, I believe it was Daniels' second drive with the number 1 unit, Kelly kind of stopped the drive halfway through and inserted Nussmeier in. So that tells me that it may not even be figured out in preparation of week 1, that they still may go into the season with giving these guys opportunities to work in-game action with, the first team unit. And by the time that Mississippi State comes to Baton Rouge at the end of September, to me is where you've got to be real secure. You've got to know who your guy is moving forward for the rest of the year. At this point, if they're on a timeline right now where they're still kind of going back and forth on who's going to be the guy, then I don't know if this competition is going to be over next week, because really that would be the ideal time period that you would need this competition to be finalized to really kind of get your group ready to start game planning for one quarterback. And I still think that they would like to see both of them in a game. And it may be the Florida State game, the Southern game, and the New Mexico game that they need to see him in before they ultimately say, you know what, here's who we're going to ride with for the rest of the year. But the closer that it gets, the more that I feel, either way you go, you're going to be really competitive. Like if you're Kelly, Joe Sloan, Mike Denbrock, offensive staff, you're so secure in the quarterback position with those two guys, in my opinion. Because Jaden Daniels has improved tremendously since the spring in throwing the football. I mean, I know his completion percentage at Arizona State last year was 65%, which is pretty good, really good. But if you watch him throw, he was kind of, his mechanics were off, his body wasn't always right in the position, his footwork wasn't, kind of up to speed, and his hard work through the offseason, because he doesn't look like he looked in the spring to me. He looks stronger. He looks better from a technique standpoint. He looks more accurate. Jacques had a piece of video that came out of Daniels throwing the ball off of an RPO, like of a simple RPO read that they're going to be doing a lot of this year, obviously. And the ball just kind of, it looks very natural coming out. It looks very natural. And, the shot of that Jacques got of Nussmeier dropping that deep ball into the bucket of Brian Thomas over the head of LaTerrence Welsh. As Welsh is walking towards the sideline, he's like, it's a hell of a pass. It was, he couldn't have played any better defense. Nuss just dropped it in the bucket. So this thing it's neck and neck, man. I think crazy. That it really is. It's back and forth every day. It's to the point where, in a scrimmage, you stop them halfway through and insert the other guy. You're just uncertain.
Yeah.
Situational football.
He's going to play both. Like, if you look back at Brian Kelly's history, everywhere he's been, I think he's run a 2-quarterback system 5 times in his career as a head coach. He's not afraid to do it, and people are. I know it's a left and right thing as to which one you want. Like, you don't. What's the old saying? If you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none. I don't think Brian Kelly believes that at all. Like, this is just me speculating, obviously, but the way he's been a head coach before and with his previous stops, he's not afraid to play 2. And whether they give you kind of a similar skill set, obviously Jaden Daniels can do a little bit more with his feet. I think you're going to see both of them throughout the year.
But who do you think is going to start?
I think it's going to be Jaden just based off experience. And then he might bring in, like, Nussmeier as a closer, somebody to kind of grind the time down, or it could be the other way around. But it's going to be it's going to be both. It's just a matter of how he chooses to do it. And I think you'll see it shuffle throughout the year.
Mekhi Wingo said it in the summertime when he came through here, the defensive lineman who transferred in from Missouri. Jaden Daniels' speed is different. He said that
Michael
whether
Scott.
he was
I know, it was 21.
whether it was contact or whether it was no contact, Jaden Daniels was going to be trouble to bring down. I mean, when we were asking him about that quarterback race, that was the first thing he said. And then you see him clock a time like 21 miles an hour. All right, Jordy, Jaden Daniels will be the starter. I just said Jaden Daniels is going to start.
Nice try, Jordy.
I mean, what do you mean? I just said if they played a game tonight, Jaden Daniels would be starting after what I heard and what was taking place yesterday of Jaden Daniels getting the first snap. I do believe that it's not yet closed. It's not yet – the competition's still going. Like Brian Kelly said. I mean, he was like, look, I mean – that Daniels got the first reps, but they both took first team reps. They both led touchdown drives. They both trust both guys. It's a really good position to be in if you're a coaching staff. I mean, really. I mean, from just a security standpoint, that position means so much to the overall success or failure of the team. And to have two guys at this point in the year going into it that you trust at that level has got to be a good feeling.